Hi, I'm Virginie Likens from Mullen Designs, and today I wanted to show you inside my Alpursa album. Alpursa was a Swiss company that made chocolate products. They were founded in 1892. And inside this album, you see there is a large collection of small vignettes or stamps with embroidery patterns on them. Now, I was not able to find very much information on the internet about the Alpursa company, apart that they changed their name in 1931 to Alpine Milk. But what I do know is that they produced chocolate products, and probably inside the chocolate bars they had little vignettes. They were collectible, they were made in series, and they had small motifs for embroidery or tapestry. Imagine buying a bar of chocolate or cocoa powder and there's a little embroidery pattern inside. Wouldn't that be fun? Actually, would love to see another company do this nowadays again. What is special about this is because they are a bit older and they are collectible, it's very rare to find an album that is still in good condition. All too often albums have been damaged or cut. I've seen sellers cut the pages and sell just one page at a time. So this is actually quite an interesting find to have an album that has so many different patterns still inside of it. So I'm going to put the camera a little lower and show you inside the book. Okay, let's take a look at the album. I presume it was probably more greenish once upon a time, but now it's faded, dirty, and I fear at one point it got some humidity damage. But the inside is quite nice and in good condition for its age. So inside the album there are pages for gluing your collection of vignettes. 6 places, because each series had 6 small stamps or vignettes. And they're kind of theme based, so here we have some plants and flowers, animals, fruits, musical instruments, geometrical patterns, more small motifs. These could be used for decorating items, for example, or in a spot sampler. The alphabet. Now, Alpursa was a Swiss company, but this looks quite German to me. I'm not an expert, so maybe somebody knows the meaning of these symbols. I would love to know more about it. Of course, this was also the time around the wars, so naturally there are some themes that come up in here. Like, for example, this is obviously World War I, with a soldier running with his bayonet or charging with his horse. Here's some children, and there's a man playing the flute, maybe it's a Pied Piper of Hamelin. These here are probably the shields of some towns. I know when I lived in Switzerland, a lot of villages and small towns had a coat of arms. So again, I don't know if it's Swiss or if it's German, but either way, it's quite interesting. And maybe a place to do a bit more research and find out a bit more. Small flowers, I can imagine someone may want to stitch them on the corner of their handkerchief. More geometrical patterns, maybe for tapestry or weaving. Some traditional fairy tales and folklore. From what I understand, this was German stories. I don't remember the story with this one here, but it's like Black Forest tales. Bit more fairy tales here. There's a hare shooting. He's shooting the hunter. These are connected. More symbols. Angels. This one here was quite special. It's a soldier saying goodbye to his wife and children, fighting, coming home for a visit, being wounded and cared for, and I guess the end of the war and the celebration, and coming home to his family. This must have been the reality for a lot of families at a time period between the wars. Soldiers and families missing their daddies. The signs of the zodiac, and here I'm lucky because I have all 12 of them. More children. Some of these are better quality than others. For example, these ones here with the eyes would be very difficult as a counted pattern, so I guess you'd have to embroider it freehand on top afterward. a story of Hans and Gretel. Actually quite a gory fairy tale if you think about it. The little girl has to push the old witch into the fire. And these are quite typical German or Swiss or Alpine dances, the ladies in dirndls, folk dance. The quality is a bit different. Some of them are very good quality and some of them, like this alphabet here, is not particularly attractive. These small motifs here are quite typical of the time period when you would buy thread. Often you'd get these small booklets that would fold out like an accordion, and they would have very simple basic little patterns, alphabets and motifs, which you could use as you pleased. This one here is a bit sad because it's a nice idea, but the colors are all mashed together, so the pattern is pretty much unusable. This one here put together makes a nice wreath of roses. Here's some more of those blue patterns. Again, very detailed, but very, very tight together, a little hard to tell. But the idea is that you get creative. You take a pattern and you kind of adapt it and make it as you want. Get some ideas from it. Hunting scenes, small baskets with ribbons, a little bit everywhere. Frames, more folk dancing. The person who made this album must have spent a good amount of time collecting, maybe trading them with other people to get all the different parts of the series. Patterns for Holbein or black work. And then we come to the end of the album where the person had stopped gluing and there was some free pages, and I had a few vignettes, so I started gluing them, and I think I'm going to have a bit of fun trying to find the rest of the series. These can be found at antique shops or fairs, flea markets, eBay, but because they are quite old and paper ephemeras doesn't always last so long, it can be a bit of a challenge to find the missing pieces, but it's also the fun of it. If you're a collector, you can look for and keep an eye out for the special series number and find the rest of the series. So I do have space to add more. This one's sweet with little Edelweisses. And that's it. This one here. This one here, I've actually charted it. And I can imagine it would be stitched maybe on heavy canvas or plastic canvas nowadays and be made into a little box. All the pattern kind of fits together to do all the different pieces for the box. So it would be interesting to see if somebody actually will take the time to stitch it and make the little jewelry box out of it. Or sewing box. So this is it. This is the Alpursa album. And I guess I will be keeping my eyes out to fill out the missing ones from my collection.